On this week's episode of the WNP podcast, we give you our 2022 NFL Draft quarterback rankings. Stay tuned. Episode 135 of the We're Not Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how you doing?
I'm doing swell. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm pumped because unlike last week where we had to talk about unfortunate events that took place in the NFL, we now get to look forward to the best time of the year, and that is the NFL Draft. You and I both huge prospect guys, whether it be hockey, whether it be football, whether it be cricket, anything prospect material, we're there.
I don't know about cricket, but I don't know. I don't know too much about that sport.
Oh, okay. Maybe our friend George does. Hey, George the Giraffe back with us. Graham, not as big of a college buff or draft buff as us, so he said, you know what, you guys can take the reins. I'll be back when the draft is done and over with. You guys are done doing your prospect. Maybe we'll have him on for the free agency show.
There we go.
So, but this one, all about prospects. Today's episode going to be on the quarterbacks. Chase, I don't know if you still have that schedule that we planned out. If you do, if you would pull that up. But absolutely, before we go over our top 8 quarterbacks, we are going to have to go over some news. So we'll talk about that briefly, and then the rest of the show, all quarterbacks. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got some graphics for you too, so make sure to check them out.
Would you like me to read the schedule now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this week, of course, we got the quarterback rankings. Next week, we are doing the running back rankings. So that includes fullbacks. If you really think there's a fullback, that'd be a top 8 running back.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. And then week 3, which will be the March 9th, so it's the day of us recording. So March 2nd is the next week. Then March 9th, we'll be recording our free agency preview. March 16th, we got wide receivers, tight ends. March 23rd, we got offensive line and then interior defensive linemen. March 30th, we got pass rushers and linebackers. April 6th, we got defensive backs. April 13th, we got our free agency recap. And April 20th, we got our mock draft.
I'm excited for all of that. Like, so much stuff to look into. And I got to say, I don't know about you, but this episode alone, I have put in the most amount of time preparation-wise. Last year, we put in a ton. But this year, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because I didn't have the chance to look at prospects because the Bengals went so far, but man, I sat down and just destroyed my TV with how much tape I watched.
Yeah, I spent a pretty good amount of time. I'm pretty happy with what I did. It wasn't to the point where like I'm losing sleep over it, but I definitely did my due diligence.
Right. All right, let's talk about some news real quick. So first, there was a combine scare because the NFL were putting a bubble in place with the combine. A lot of agents and participants at the combine were not interested in following some of the protocols, so there was talk that maybe some participants and agents were going to withdraw from the combine, and that would have been terrible.
Yes, it really would have, but luckily we don't have to worry about that. They're going to be able to go on with their show as expected. The NFL agreed to make that move, which is good. The combine is a players event anyway. It's tailoring to what the players need to do in order to get to the NFL. So you have to try to accommodate them. Whatever is going to help them the best is what you need to do. So the fact that they're able to loosen up on that, get it figured out, is definitely a good thing.
Absolutely. Next up, Brian Flores, the former Miami Dolphins head coach. He's heading over to Pittsburgh. I think it's linebackers coach and special defensive assistant or something.
Yeah, it's like linebackers, defensive assistant, whatever the hell the combo is. It's one of the craziest demotions I've ever seen.
I'm annoyed.
And very undeserving. He is worthy of, at worst, a coordinator job, honestly. Sure, you said, or not you said, but, you heard that there was, like, personality and relationship issues in Miami. Well, give him another opportunity to go somewhere else and improve on those relationships and have somewhere else where maybe he's got a better, rapport with his quarterback, because that was really what the big problem seemed to be. But instead, he's got to go and work his way up again. It's strange.
Yeah, and when I said I'm annoyed, not because he has this opportunity, but because of who it was with. The Pittsburgh Steelers, like, come on, they already have a great defense with TJ Watt being the headlining name there, and you bring in a guy who is a very prolific defensive coach who turned maybe one of the worst rosters on paper, the Miami Dolphins, into a very solid defense and a team that was pushing to make the playoffs the last couple of years. So kind of annoyed because same division as my Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sure he's going to cook something up for Joe Burrow and the boys.
Does Xavier McKinney request a trade now? Since, seems like Brian Flores hated his guts and like, get the hell out of here, even though you're very good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll see. At least he's not the DB coach.
Yeah, that's true. Let's not talk about Aaron Rodgers and the drama that's over there.
When I say Xavier McKinney, I meant Minkah Fitzpatrick.
I was going to say, I was like,
I have no idea why Xavier McKinney was the name that came out of my mouth. I was thinking Minkah in my head the whole time.
Maybe some of those rumors about Flores just being like a bad person or whatever, having terrible relationships, maybe Minkah can attest to some of them.
Maybe.
But let's move on to the Aaron Rodgers stuff. He posted 10 paragraph or 10 page something post on Instagram.
It was pretty thick.
And also pictures and just being the drama queen that he is. He also went on the Pat McAfee show to say, I just came back from a 12-day retreat and I feel thankful as ever. And I'm just like, what is this? What am I watching? Why are we giving him time?
So it's so weird. Like he goes on this little sabbatical retreat, whatever you want to call it, and he ends his engagement. He is, posting these weird cryptic type things on Instagram, posting the picture of I think it was Cobb and Devontae Adams. Yeah, without him in the middle because he always stood between them. So just, doing these weird things. I don't know. Whatever the hell that means, but I don't even know anymore with Aaron Rodgers. I really don't.
Yeah, he's something. The Green Bay Packers also adjusted Kenny Clark's contract to free up $10 million in space. And then Brian Gutekunst, the GM over there, said that he would not likely take any calls that are inquiring about Jordan Love's status to possibly be traded.
If Aaron Rodgers is returning, you have to trade him.
Yeah.
You have to. So maybe that means they don't fully believe that he's going to be back. If that's the case, then it makes sense to hold on to him. You took the guy in the first round at that point and see what you got. But they have to make the decision on the fifth-year option this year already.
I thought he's only been in 2 years.
They make it going into year.
I thought it was year 4.
So he was 2019 draft, wasn't he?
He was in the draft with Burrow, 2020.
Oh, I thought he was the one before.
No. So they have a little bit of time.
Okay, yeah.
But still.
Yeah, one more season then.
Okay. I think it's still a make or break year. I mean, if you don't see anything from a guy in his third year, he's done. And there's a quarterback that I have that we're going to be talking about in this upcoming class where I say the third year is the make or break for him. We'll see what happens. If he's...
The third NFL year, you're saying?
Yes, the third NFL year. If he's made it and he looks good, then he could potentially be a star. If he still isn't seeing action, then he's probably not even going to be a backup.
Interesting.
So we'll talk about that more. Interesting topics with the Green Bay Packers. Let's touch on the USFL now. This is a new spring football league starting April 16th.
I mean, it's a revitalization of a revival. That's the word,
right? But so is the XFL and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So this league is probably only staying around for this season. Who knows? Maybe more. But the draft is going on right now, and both of us Michigan Panthers fans, surprisingly, right? How am I rooting for a Michigan team, except for Sparty?
I can tell you how you're rooting for a Michigan team because you realize Jeff Fisher was the coach.
That's true. I really want to go 7-9 or 9-7.
Looking so forward to it.
I don't have much expectations for the league overall, I'll be honest.
No, there's some solid individual talent. Like there's some guys that's like, oh, I'm surprised they're not on NFL rosters, but that's really about it. The quarterbacks, not the case at all. The quarterbacks, I was like, oh yeah, there's a reason you're a free agent. There's a reason you're available here. Shea Patterson, first overall pick, the Michigan Panthers.
Yep.
Go Blue. What a legend. It's just very, very, telling of what the league is going to be.
And then even better, how much was he even getting paid? Brock Osweiler getting paid way too much with Denver and Cleveland and whatever the messy situation was with him. But he gets another chance with the Michigan Panthers as well.
Paxton Lynch?
I thought it was Brock Osweiler.
Paxton Lynch.
Oh, well, I'm disappointed now. I don't have as much fun or much faith. I legitimately thought it was Brock Osweiler.
No, Paxton Lynch.
Damn it.
Yeah. it's gonna be interesting. You know, I was seeing Paxton Lynch talk today, and it's like some guys were talking about the 2016 quarterback class. They're like, man, looking back on it, Paxton Lynch was my third quarterback in that class behind Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
What a quarterback class.
Yeah, it was definitely something. And then let's talk finally, last piece of news here before we get into our quarterback talk. That being the XFL. They are partnering with the NFL, which would spell doom for the USFL unless they can really get it going this season. But the XFL partnering with them for development in players, but also fan experience, in something with the actual like game, like
it's testing like new rules, testing equipment, testing testing broadcast like strategies, all this different stuff. Anything the NFL wants to test, the XFL will test. So it's good for the XFL. If the USFL wants to stick around, they're gonna have to find a way to put a nearly flawless product in the field. Like everyone knows it's not going to be NFL talent, but if you can make it so it's truly a step above college football, then people might tune in. But you have to truly show that, okay, this is better than watching an SEC game, which who knows if they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, but I think this is a really nice step because having this partnership between the XFL and the NFL, who knows, maybe down the line we now have developmental teams linked with NFL teams, and we have that type of AHL to NHL system that we've been wanting so much.
I'm all for this. Like maybe not during season, I don't really care. But like if you do it during the season, like instead of practice squad of players, they go down to this team. Sure, that's fine. But even if not, make it so whatever guys you finish the year in your practice squad, they automatically get put onto your XFL team that starts in like February or something, like after Super Bowl ends. And you know, anyone you sign to a futures contract goes and plays in the XFL as well. Like those types of things, and then the rest are just filled out with free agents. They're looking for jobs. Something like that, I'm all for it. It'll keep football year round. It'll give guys extra incentive, you know, to work a little harder, a little differently. They'll, you know, say the Lions have their practice squad to go down and they play for, you know, say whatever the Michigan team is going to be. You know, right now the Michigan Panthers, the USFL. So let's just say it's them, just for this scenario. They go down to the Michigan Panthers and they play the Lions' current coaching staff system. So they just, you know, they bring down what Dan Campbell's doing and implement it into the XFL, and you learn that system, and then you try to come prepared, take a spot during the regular season for the NFL. Like I'm all for that.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I worry with that is if a guy performs tremendously in the XFL regular season, whatever it is, and the team's like, wow, you know, this is a guy that we want to give a chance, he'd be playing like a full year of football.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you make it so it's like, you know, maybe 8 games of the XFL. 8 games and then like 3-game playoff max, something like that. Something to keep the games down, but enough where they can still showcase their skills.
Yeah, give guys the potential to do stuff. I mean, Jordan Love, we just talked about him earlier on. He's been in the NFL for 2 years, and has he started a game?
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe one or two.
I don't know.
Like, give a guy like that a chance to actually get some game action. So I would absolutely love that.
He started 1 game this year when Aaron Rodgers had the whole toe thing, remember?
Right.
And right now his stats on his career is he has 62 pass attempts. Over 2 years as a first-round quarterback. Like, it's not even that he hasn't earned it, he just hasn't been given the opportunity.
Right. So something like this would absolutely help with that type of scenario, which I know that you and I were all in for, and I'm sure there's people out there listening right now that agree. A minor league system for the NFL would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm about it.
All right, Jace, you ready?
I'm ready.
We're getting into our top 8 draft eligible quarterbacks now. What we're going to do is we're just going to run through our top 8. You can decide whether you want to start at 8 or 1. I'll let you go first. You just run through your top 8. I'll run through my top 8. And then we'll talk about the guys specifically. And we'll talk about why you may have a guy in your top 8 that I don't, and vice versa. And then also talk about, you know, placements, because maybe your number 1 guy is my number 8 guy, or, you know, whoever. So I'll let you go first. You figure out whether you want to go 1 to 8 or 8 to 1.
When it comes to rankings, it's always 1 to 8.
Oh, is it?
You always start at the top because the top is where
I'm going to start from the bottom then.
No. Like the top half of a ranking, you're more likely to have similarities in the bottom half of a ranking. So you start where you're going to have the similarities, you end where you're going to have the differences. So I'll rip through my number 1 and through my number 1 through 8, real quick. Number 1, I have Liberty quarterback Malik Willis. I do. Number 2, Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral. Number 3, Nevada quarterback Carson Strong. Number 4, Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett. Number 5, North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell. Number 6, Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder. Number 7, Western Michigan quarterback Kaleb Eleby. Number 8, Western Kentucky quarterback Bailey Zappe.
Very different lists.
Beautiful.
And when I said before the show, I think my 9 and 10 quarterbacks are going to be in your top 8, exactly what happened. So
My last 2, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me run through my 1 through 8. Number 1, Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett. Number 2, Malik Willis. Number 3, Matt Corral. Number 4, Desmond Ridder. Number 5, Sam Howell. Number 6, Carson Strong. Number 7, Jack Coan. And number 8, Brock Purdy.
You did not just say Jack
I
Coan.
did.
What the hell's wrong with you? That guy's
Did you
so
watch
bad.
the tape? Did you watch his tape?
He's terrible.
He was so much better than Bailey Zappe.
No chance.
Yes, chance. We'll
chance.
talk about it. All right, let's go to Malik Willis first, okay? You have him as your number 1. I've got him as my number 2. Why do you have him as your number 1?
So I created a system that's my own little private grading system, and I had 2 quarterbacks come out as first round grades. Obviously, it's my top 2 guys, and he is the one that profiled the most. A lot of it, one of the grades categories I have is athleticism, and he's just got the pure athletic build that you're looking for out of the modern day quarterback. Teams are really transitioning to a quarterback that can offer the mobility with his feet if he needs to get out of the pocket and scramble and try to create something. They can do that, but still be good enough thrower in the pocket. And you've seen enough of each of these little skills that these teams are looking for out of Malik Willis. You've seen him do it all at a high level, even if just for short stretches. He's done it all at a high level, showcasing that he can do it. And that's the biggest thing with developmental guys. Developmental guys, they show flashes all the time, but then they have a lot of down stretches. You just got to find a way to keep level of consistency and playing at that higher level. That's what development really means for a quarterback. And for Malik Willis, that's all it's going to take. Just finding a level of consistency. He's going to be a great runner regardless. His running's going to transition right to the NFL. He runs like an NFL quarterback should. It's just he's got to work on some ball placement, work on some deep field throws. But he has the arm to do it. He has the touch. He has all the tools. He's just got to find that level of consistency. And it just the ceiling is really what sells him in. I think he's got clearly the highest ceiling of all the quarterbacks in this class.
I agree. Before I actually go in, I should say this. You can let me know if you agree or disagree. But the QB class as a whole is down this year, for sure.
Yep.
I think it was Todd McShay said the number 1 quarterback for him would have been the number 6 quarterback if placed into the draft last year. So that's behind Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields. So it is down as a whole, and I tend to agree with Todd McShay on his point. I don't think that these guys don't have potentially higher ceilings than maybe 1 or 2 guys that were in last draft. Like, for example, I think Malik Willis' ceiling is higher than Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. However, it does not come close to me when it comes to Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, a ceiling, absolutely not. So the way my grading system works, it was tweaked, so my numbers work out a little differently. But how the rankings would eventually come is the top 4 quarterbacks that I had from last year in Lance, Lawrence, Fields, and Wilson. They're going to be top 4, but Malik Willis supplants Mac Jones, and so does actually Matt Corral, my second quarterback, too.
Okay. So Malik Willis, when I was watching tape and everything, raw, super raw,
yep.
Big arm, great mobility. He's quick to bail out of the pocket, which I found to be very interesting. Kind of a one-read quarterback as of right now.
That's also part of the offense he was playing because of the Liberty offense lacks tools. When he was going in the Senior Bowl, I don't know how much Senior Bowl you watched, but he was progressing like the field, like going through his progressions really well. That's what really helped sell me on him.
Okay. I did see, though, at least a couple of times, still a clean pocket, and he's still dipping.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. That's sometimes that's those mobile quarterbacks. It's just they feel the need to do it, and they just can't help themselves.
And then for improvements, needs to improve on decision making as well as reading the defense. And I don't know. Have you heard of the difference between passer and thrower from Bruce Arians?
I mean, I don't know necessarily through him, but I've heard that like comparison before.
So a passer is someone that can lead a wide receiver open. They might not be open at the point in which they release the ball, but it gets to them as they come open. Where a thrower, they need to actually see the player get open before they actually start to progress through their motion. Joe Burrow, an obvious passer. Malik Willis on tape, he seems like a thrower to me. He needs to really progress his on-field vision, his defensive scheme recognition and everything. I think raw talent, he's top in the class for sure. But there's a lot of little things that he needs to work on for me, and he's actually the guy that I put for projection. Boomer bust, he's got a 3-year window. At that 3rd year, if we don't see him making plays and being a starter, which I would assume he's a starter at the very latest, his 2nd year, if a team's going to invest a first-round pick into him. But if we don't see him making those progressions in reading the defense by that 3rd year, then I think it's going to be a short career for him. If he does show that improvement, then I'm very excited what he potentially could be, potentially a top 12 quarterback.
So he's different than Josh Allen, but it's the similar type of Josh Allen development that he's going to need, where like the passing is really what needs to improve. Josh Allen coming into the NFL, everyone knew he was just this unreal athlete who had a tremendous arm, showed some great flashes, but could not do it at a consistent level. And Josh Allen learned how to do it at a consistent level. He learned how to read defenses and how to properly lead players a little better, and now he's turned into an NFL superstar. Where Malik Willis is not the athlete Josh Allen is, doesn't have the full arm like capabilities that Josh Allen does, but he does have at least a decent fraction of both those things, where he could be a very good, useful starting player as long as it all comes together.
I personally think he's got the best arm strength out of the class. I know you can argue Carson Strong if you want, but I feel Malik Willis has more zip on his ball than Carson Strong does.
Agreed.
And then my last thing that I actually put on Malik Willis comes into reading the defense, and that's his eyes often get big. There was times where I see a player streaking down the sideline and he beat his corner, but there was a 2 safety over the top and he didn't really recognize it. Eyes got big, threw it up, and the safety was there to intercept it. So, but definitely a player to keep an eye on. Why don't we go to Kenny Pickett now? He's my number 1. He is your number 4, right?
Yes.
So I'll start on why I like Kenny Pickett. Had a great season, obviously. The redshirt senior year had a Joe Burrow-esque, not as good as Joe Burrow by any means, but had a phenomenal season. The thing that I noted as being very fond of for him, great pocket presence, super accurate. He goes through his progressions very quickly. His eyes stay downfield. That's one that I find to be very important. Anytime I saw him scrambling out of the pocket, eyes continue to be downfield. However, I do have that once pressure gets in his face, he can be frantic. I think he is a less talented Joe Burrow type of player. He's a guy who doesn't have a big arm, doesn't have great athleticism, but the way he reads the defense is very impressive in my eyes. I have him down as a passer, but the thing that separates the two type of players, Joe Burrow, the number 1 ready quarterback against the blitz last year, and Kenny Pickett, he won't ever be that.
No, Kenny Pickett is, when there's no pressure, he's good in the pocket, and he's got an accurate throw out like from within the pocket. But the second any pressure does come, it can fall apart. The thing that really knocked me for him is when you watch him sitting in the pocket, especially as offensive lines like starts close, he's really bouncy.
Yes, I saw that too. It looks like he's like got the jitters or something. He's like,
and it's worked for him for a lot. Up to this point, he obviously had a great season this year. But if he's caught being a little too bouncy and the offensive line is starting to collapse on him as the defense is pushing in, he's not going to be able to react as quickly and try to get out of the pocket. So he's going to take more sacks, take a little more abuse, and it's going to cause his team, lose yards. Maybe he fumbles. So it's a little bit of, that bounciness is almost, I don't know if it's a lack of I don't want to say it's a lack of awareness thing, because I don't necessarily think it's the case. I think it's just like how he naturally is. Yeah. And it's a little bit of a hindrance. It's the only thing that really knocks him out of a first round grade for me. My 3 and 4 QBs were, really my 3, 4, and 5 QBs were all really close to first round QBs, but I ended up falling into the second round just for little reasons. And that's really the biggest thing. And then the other thing is just, he's not an effortless thrower. Some guys, you watch them throw the ball, it looks like they're using an eighth of a percentage of energy to do it. Where he's really stepping into the ball, he's really putting his arm into it, and it's not an issue, but it causes a little bit longer of a mechanical type of throw. It's a little more wear and tear in the body because you're stretching out your body's limits. I don't know how long it's going to last.
Did you do projections for these guys at all?
Not necessarily, no.
For Kenny Pickett, I actually have him. I could see him as a mid-tier starter, similar to like a Kirk Cousins. where he's a guy that can definitely get it done if he's got the team around him. But I don't have any superstars unless Malik Willis absolutely hits coming out of this class.
Yeah, that's kind of fair. So the way my grading system like works, like Malik Willis's grade has him being a top 16 ranked player in this draft class for me, and Matt Corral is ranked also in that range. Whereas right now, like Kenny Pickett's an early second round type guy. So an early second round type guy would be that Kirk Cousins style type of quarterback, someone who is good enough to start, but it's a little more important to put the pieces around him because he's not going to be able to do it on his own. So if you're going to take a quarterback who can't do it on his own in the first round, you're kind of wasting a pick, honestly.
Yeah, I personally think that Kenny Pickett's going to be the guy who's the most ready. I don't know about you.
I do have that in here as well, that he's going to be day one. I trust him to be the best starter. I think Matt Corral's got a chance to do it too. It just really depends how well he rehabs from injury.
Right. Matt Corral, let's talk about him next. He's your number 2?
Yes.
He is my number 3.
I really, really like Matt Corral. I liked him even more than I did before I watched the film on him. So before film was like, yeah, this guy's a good quarterback. I have faith in him. But watching him, you really see the confidence and the leadership abilities on the field. Like guys just play better when he's on the field. Like he truly is one of those players that just makes everyone around him better. The team seems to have a little more pep in their step. He offers just a calmness that you really need at quarterback. It's kind of like how Joe Burrow does it. Like you know this guy is going to come out and just ball. And I think Matt Corral's kind of the same thing. He's a complete package type of player where he's not just some athletic freak, but he's got good enough athleticism for the modern day quarterbacks. He's got good enough arm strength, good enough accuracy. He's got everything at least at that good enough level. And that's great to have as a quarterback. He's someone that really took good strides this year. I think he's still got a lot of room to develop as well. Like I think he could become a borderline top 12 quarterback in the league. Things are going to have to really go right for him, but I couldn't, I wouldn't want to call it impossible or anything. He's just going to have to go somewhere that's going to invest, and really make sure to keep him upright, keep him healthy, and just let him do everything he can to succeed.
I told you coming into this, there was one quarterback I was just so confused about. It's Matt Corral.
Really?
Because all of the film I watched, they were doing 90% of every single snap that I saw from him was either RPO, a quick slant, or a running back screen. And I'm just like, let me actually see him progress through the defense. Like, I couldn't get a full read on that.
You know who the same case was with?
No one.
Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Exact same case.
I call Justin Herbert as being elite.
So. Yeah, so did I. And I'm calling Matt Corral as being borderline elite.
I don't know about that.
So top 12 is borderline elite. I think he'd be a top 12 QB.
My projection for him, capital letters, I don't know. Mid to low end starter, question mark. So let me tell you a potential comparison just based off of how I saw and how I noted some of his good sides and bad sides. Okay. A better vision, Daniel Jones.
I gotta disagree. I don't agree with that one. I don't really know who I compare him to. I try not to get too heavy into comparisons because like at the end of the day, everyone is different. But I get why they're made, and I tried to think of one for Matt Corral, and I really couldn't like put my finger on one. He's just your generic what you'd expect a quarterback prospect to be, and it's hard to just say that's one person or another. Also, I gotta say, if you're watching on the YouTube video, there will be graphics of each player, and they've got their height and weight, their stat lines, everything like that. I do question Matt Corral's 6'2" stature. Like, I feel like it's probably going to be coming in closer at like 6.5. If so, it's not a big deal. Kyler Murray's like 5'10".
Whoa.
Russ Wilson's like 5'11". That's fine.
But I did have that noted. Also, let me go into why I saw Daniel Jones-esque.
I would like to know, actually. Please.
He's actually got really good short to medium accuracy, Matt Corral. Like, those slants, he was beaming the ball in there. There were really tight windows that he was actually able to fit the ball into. Really impressed by that. He loves giving his wide receivers a one-on-one chance. Like a 50-50 ball, I saw often he took those type of shots. However, I did see that the deep ball overall needs a little bit of work. He's not no Joe Burrow when it comes to the deep ball. Like there was often times where he overthrew his receiver or he underthrew and the receiver had to come back to get it. I watched 3 games of his, fumbled in every single one. Had 2 fumbles in one of them. So he seems to struggle holding on to the ball once pressure gets to him. But I have that he reads the field decently, and he's a passer, not a thrower. And again, that means he's able to lead his target. But overall, I was just very confused with some of the tape because I wanted to see more progression out of him, and I didn't really see that because of how the offense was planned and attacked other defenses.
There's nothing wrong with being a short to medium thrower in the NFL nowadays, especially with how heavily teams are switching to the RPO. It's, ever since Patrick Mahomes had success with it in Kansas City, every team is thinking, okay, my quarterback can do this. Why aren't we doing it? So now every team is starting to add RPOs to their offense, and Matt Corral is the perfect RPO type of quarterback where he's going to be able to react quick enough and know if he needs to hand that ball off, if he needs to throw it really quickly. It'll be on the dot pretty much every time within, that 10 to 15 yard range. You don't have to worry about that at all. So he is truly a great game managing quarterback that also has win you game ability.
And I think Matt Corral is probably the quickest quarterback in this draft class when it comes to his legs. I think Malik Willis blows him out of the water with overall speed, but the way that Matt Corral changes direction to get out of the pocket really impressed me as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
All right, who do we want to hit on next? Because your 4, 5, and 6 are the same as my 4, 5, and 6, but very different order.
Let's go with and it's my number 3, 5, and 6.
Oh.
So we'll go Carson Strong.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so let's go with Carson Strong, who you are just a hater on, apparently.
I am not. I have
peanut butter and hater.
Let me tell you my projection right before you start. Where is it? There it is. Project with starter upside. There you go.
Yeah, I think he'd be better off not having to start right away, but I think he is one of 3 quarterbacks, and maybe even 4 if you want to throw Sam Howell in this mix too. One of 4 quarterbacks that could start right away and probably be okay. He is more of that old style type of quarterback where he's not really going to move from the pocket. He's not completely useless in the run game, but he's far from a run first. Like he's a better runner than Phillip Rivers, but like maybe he's Ben Roethlisberger level, honestly. That's kind of the athleticism.
Big Ben in his 40s.
No, he's not that slow. You get out of here. You're ridiculous. Anyway, he is an impressive passer from the pocket.
He is.
He has a great ball. It looks really good. It's the most impressive throws routinely out of this whole draft class. It's just you're not going to get that athletic upside that you want out of quarterbacks nowadays. So if you set him up in an offense that has a very good running back infrastructure and is going to, let the quarterback pass, let the running backs run, he's going to find success. But if you try to put him into a new age offense where he needs to be able to move the ball, he needs to do the read option, he's obviously not going to work. So he's got to go to the right situation, but he could either hit very well and be just a fantastic passer, like a Matt Ryan is just, a fantastic passer and still going
that's
strong.
A good comparison.
Yeah. Like he could be that type of QB, or it could really just falter and he just is in the system that does not work for him.
Yeah, I think he's probably the best passer in the draft class.
Yes.
He's accurate. He's got a strong arm, but like I mentioned earlier when talking about Malik Willis, I feel like he lacks a little bit of zip. I feel like sometimes his ball floats a little bit too much than it actually gets to his target, which isn't always a bad thing because sometimes you need those touch passes for your receivers to actually be able to handle it. I think he was decent at, going through progressions and reading the field. However, like I was alluding to, the mobility, I have down 0 mobility.
I would not call it 0, but it's just minimal. It's above Phillip Rivers, that's for sure.
Let me tell you why I say that. I literally watched the dude start in shotgun, 5 yards back, 4 yards, 5 yards back, whatever it is in shotgun. And within 2 seconds, he's getting pressure up the middle from the D tackles. And it's not like anything crazy. It's not like an Alabama pass rush. He plays at Nevada. I don't know who he was versus Boise State maybe. But there's obviously a presence there from the defense coming up the middle. He can either go to his right, go to his left. What does he decide to do? He moves up 1 yard and slides for a 4-yard loss. I'm like, what just happened?
That's the old Eli Manning self-sack.
Yeah, like if he just was able to get outside and throw the ball away, like I'd be like, okay, yeah, like the mobility isn't great, but he can at least do something. That play right there just made me go, what the hell was that?
That's funny. I've seen him move outside the pocket, and it's not very quick or flashy or anything, but like he can get it done if he really needs to.
Also, big injury questions with Carson Strong. All the way going back to his high school career, he's had problems with his knees. In February of 2021, he had knee surgery. In August of 2021, he had a knee scope, and then there were so many question marks during the season if he was going to play, if he wasn't, just because of the knee issue. So that obviously can add to the disadvantage when it comes to his run game. But at the same time, even if he had 100% healthy knees, he's still not phenomenal at that aspect of the game.
Right.
And I don't hate him. I think that he could easily be a guy who sits for, a year or two and potentially comes in and plays really well. If Big Ben was still around, that could be a place for him to go. Learn from Big Ben, but we know Big Ben's not there anymore. So, oh well.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with your 6th guy, I think.
Desmond Ridder?
Yeah, he's my 4th.
Sure. Let's go with Desmond Ridder. Why not? You want me to start or you want to take him since you got him?
I'll start because I got him a little bit higher.
All right.
So, Desmond Ridder, a guy that I think potentially, like Kenny Pickett, could be a day one starter. He's pass first. He's not a great athlete, but he is much better than Carson Strong when it comes to mobility out of the pocket. I found oftentimes his accuracy could be inconsistent. There were times where he was able to hit the long ball, 30-plus yards, but then there were times where he couldn't hit a slant, and that kind of confused me a little bit. However, he read the secondary very well, and his progressions were really something that looked great to me. And obviously, I've been prioritizing the way people have read the field and the way that they're able to go through their progressions just because, as a Bengals fan, I've got Joe Burrow on my team, and that's something he excels at. When it comes to the mental aspect of the game, if you are at an elite level, you're going to be able to overcome some of the hurdles that you have with your actual physical ability. Now, I don't think Desmond Ridder is at an elite level, but I think he's the second best when it comes to reading a defense, on-field vision, throwing open his receivers, everything like that. Like I said, he can be inconsistent at times. He can be tardy when it comes to getting out of the pocket when the pass rush is there. But I think he very well could be another Kenny Pickett type where he's a mid to low-end starter and could be a guy that starts for a while. I mean, you look at like a Ryan Tannehill, it could be something like that.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan Tannehill, which is why I also disagree with your athleticism thing. I think he's a better athlete than you're giving him credit for.
He is a passer first.
Yeah, but I think he also is a better athlete, and if he played the Ryan Tannehill style, I think that's what would let him have success in the NFL. But at the same time, that's not a quarterback that wins you games. That's a quarterback that, every once in a while can make a good play, but he really needs that good supporting cast. And that's really how I feel. He's going to really need the cast. I like how you said, mid to low end starter. I think it's closer to low end than mid, but it's probably about in that range. I have, good size athleticism, throwing ability, but that's, nothing even close to more than good. Good is like being generous. It's just everything is just good enough to help him. Maybe a team can want to take him in the first round, but really he's probably, more of a second to third round type guy. It's just the thing that really bugged me the most that didn't, make me think he was a gamer is because he really isn't. Like when you look at that Bama game, he played terrible. And he didn't get a lot of help up front, but he still looked horrible doing it. A lot of big games, he just didn't really look fantastic. They didn't play too many big games in Cincinnati, but when they did play big games, he didn't always step up to the step up to the plate. Jeez, excuse me. So that's the kind of thing that really kind of draws me back a little bit.
I see when he is leading the team and in the pocket and going through his progressions and everything leading up to his actual throws and everything seems so smooth, so fluent, and so calm, which I really liked. Even when the pass rush was coming, he was able to elude it and, make a play. Now, he's not going to be a Malik Willis type or a Matt Corral type where he extends the play and creates plays, but he is a guy who can finish plays.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can give a little bit of time, and then if a receiver makes a break, then he can get it to him. So I think that also just kind of shows you where I think of the class as a whole. That if I have a mid to low end starter as my 4 guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty low class, and like really, this guy, the way I have him graded, I would take a chance on him in the 3rd round, allowing him to sit behind an older quarterback that I have. That's how his grade works out for me.
And the reason I've got him over the likes of a Carson Strong is, like I said, project with starter upside. I just don't know if he hits that upside just because of how important mobility is nowadays with the modern day quarterback. So that's why I've got Ridder above Carson Strong by 2 spots. But let's talk about the guy we both have at that number 5 spot. That being my number 1 coming into the season.
Most people's number 1.
Didn't happen. Sam Howell out of North Carolina. Super young, actually. The youngest coming out. 21 years of age. And I did like the 21 point. He's 21.4 because I think he was born in September.
Okay.
So
wow, he looked bad to start the year. He looked really bad to start the year. At least he finished strong and looked a little better. But still, just the kind of guy there's really nothing special to his game. I think he, at best, is like a slightly better Baker Mayfield. Everyone gives him that Baker comp because it's kind of the quarterback he is. It's good enough athleticism at best, good enough throwing at best, good enough reading of the defense at best. That's all it is, just good enough. And when you only have good enough and not at least good in one category, you're going to have a hard time sticking as a starter for a while in the NFL. I'm still willing to take a chance on him as a mid to late day 2 pick. That's fine, but he just doesn't do anything like elite, and I don't think he'll ever do anything elite.
Yeah, I think the one thing he is elite at is the mentality. And you said Desmond Ridder was a gamer. I watched 3 games of Sam Howell's, didn't see him slide once. He literally was just going balls to the wall. He was fighting for every yard he could get. But like you said, I actually have here little bit bigger arm but less accurate Baker Mayfield.
There we go. Yeah, that's just what he is. Like it's so fitting. Like if you put him in a Browns uniform, you just think it's Baker.
Even the picture that I have for the graphics looks like a Baker Mayfield. So kind of a stocky guy, 6'1", 220. Is able to do stuff. I think he's a little bit better athletically than Baker Mayfield is. He had 828 yards on the ground, 11 touchdowns. So I think he is a little bit better in that area. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. Like Baker Mayfield, do you want that? If you do, you can get him in the 2nd round versus 1st overall a couple years back.
Yeah, I agree. So just another point to hit on with these quarterbacks, how I feel. The Lions, obviously Jared Goff's our quarterback, and I don't want Jared Goff to be our long-term quarterback, but the only quarterbacks I would even take a chance on of my top 6 would be Malik Willis and Matt Corral. The other guys are not worth the draft position, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even if you like Kenny Pickett as your number 1, like they wouldn't draft a quarterback to start this year in Detroit anyway, so that'd be a waste of time.
I don't know where Washington picks. I think maybe like 11. Okay. If they took Kenny Pickett at 11, I'd be very happy with that.
That's actually, I did a mock draft recently, and that's what I did, because that's who I think they would take.
I'd be very happy with that. I think he comes in right away, can beat out the likes of Heineke and Allen, and hopefully help Terry McLaurin produce to a top 24 wide receiver. I actually saw a picture. You might have seen it too. But over his last 3 years, Terry McLaurin has been wide receiver 28, 29, and 30.
Yeah.
So all the hype that he's a wide receiver 1 just hasn't been shown on the field.
You know my favorite part about Terry McLaurin?
What's that?
Everyone touts him as this young dynasty asset. He's 27.
Oh, is he really?
He came out as a 24-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got literally like this year to figure it out. Otherwise, you got to throw the possibilities of an elite receiver out the window.
Oh my gosh, dude. I looked up Chris Olave because obviously he could have came out last year. Wanted to see what his age was looking like. Could be like a Terry McLaurin type of situation. Same school. Not the case. He's turning 22 in June.
Oh, good
so,
stuff.
Yeah, he's actually still pretty young.
Good stuff.
With Sam Howell, also go back there real quick. I said low-end starter needs help around him.
That's the ceiling.
Yeah. The rest of my quarterbacks, all backups or worse. I don't know about you.
Yes, my 7 and 8 guys, I think, especially my number 7 guy, I like enough of what I see where he's worth taking a chance on, see if he can develop, but I'm not going to put a lot of stock into him developing.
Do you have Zappe over Eleby or Eleby?
I have
over?
Eleby over Zappe.
All right, let's talk about Eleby first because I actually like him better than Zappe as well.
Yeah, so Kaleb Eleby, I think he shows some real potential as an actual thrower of the ball. Like you see him make some actually pretty nice downfield throws, but then he'll lead a guy, and then do the exact same throw, he'll lead him 5-10 yards downfield the next time. Like, it's so inconsistent to the point where it's a little concerning. Doesn't have really any athleticism to him, so it's just going to be as a thrower. If you can work on that and help him find that consistency and learn ball placement, read defense a little better, then maybe he's got a chance at some success. But I really don't know how likely it is going to be. I think he would have benefited much more from playing one more year at least. In college, he's only a redshirt sophomore, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So he could have really gone 2 years. And that would have been to his benefit. I think if he would have finished out his career and developed on the path he's been on, he would have been a day 2 pick probably by the time he was done. But now he's going to enter. He's going to be a day 3 pick. A team should take a chance on him. Maybe things will work out. But, the reality is he just needs the patience to develop because nothing is there at an NFL level yet.
Yeah. I actually really wanted Kaleb Eleby to reach my top 8. He didn't. He was at number 9 for me. There's a lot of small mistakes I saw him make too, like turning the wrong way when it came to handing off the ball and, stuff like that. I think he's accurate enough. He's got a solid arm. Like you said, the mobility really isn't there, although he did have 6 rushing touchdowns, but obviously that being right there at the goal line, only 64 rushing yards total. And then the one thing I actually emphasize in this is that he's a thrower, not a passer. Like all caps. Yeah. I put everyone as either a passer or a thrower. This one was really emphasized because he's a guy that really needs to see someone open before he can get it to him.
You know what his biggest benefit is?
What's that?
Western Michigan probably plays the most pro-style offense in the whole NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
And he quarterbacked that at least relatively well. So that means those skills should translate to an NFL level. Let's just see if we can progress them any further.
Yeah, exactly. I think he could be a backup with progression. I think right now, if this is where he stays, he's not even going to be a backup.
No. At this level, it's you see what he does in the offseason, does year one. Just if he shows signs of life, then improvement, great. If not, then don't even waste time.
Mm-hmm.
If the Lions are going without one of those top 2 quarterbacks, like I'm all for taking Eleby in like the 5th round.
All right, let's go to your favorite, my number 7, Jack Coan.
That guy's terrible.
Out of Notre Dame, the redshirt senior. The reason that he is over the likes of Kaleb Eleby, Bailey Zappe, Dustin Crum, and other guys is just, I actually had him ranked as my number 11. I did pre-ranks, and he was ranked as my number 11 guy. And so I went through film in that order. So Brock Purdy and Jack Coan being my 10 and 11 guys. I went to them after I watched film on Kaleb Eleby, Bailey Zappe, Dustin Crum. Literally, their play just popped. I don't know if it was because they're just in higher division of football or what, but everything about their play popped more than the others. And the one thing that you need to be a backup in the NFL for a long time is you need to be able to go through progressions. You need to read a defense at least at a decent level, and you need to have a good short to medium accuracy. That's what Jack Coan has. Not tremendous at extending the play, and he lacks the arm strength that I would like to see. But when it comes to short, medium accuracy and not putting the ball in danger, he's actually okay at that. Only 7 interceptions.
The only thing that he offers as a positive, in my opinion, is he's generally accurate. Like, he has some solid games in terms of accuracy. Then he has some games where it's or some throws, I should say, where it's like, what the hell was that going to? And I want to say it was the Wisconsin game that I saw him play earlier. So I watched live at the time.
Yep.
It might have been the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Like when he played, like he looked so bad. Every throw was horrible. Nothing was on. It looked terrible. He doesn't do anything. He offers zero mobility. It just he's got nothing for me.
He's got more mobility than Carson Strong.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Immediately, yes.
I don't know about that. I don't even see Jack Coan.
Jack Coan got injured during the Wisconsin game.
He still threw 29 balls. It doesn't matter. He looked terrible. And that's the thing. Another thing, he wasn't relied on as a heavy thrower. The most passing attempts this year, not counting the Oklahoma State game, which was just ridiculous, 68. Like that game came out of nowhere, was 35. And the rest were in the 20s pretty much, and a couple in the teens. So he was not really trusted to throw the ball a lot. That's the way Notre Dame kind of operates. He's going to have to be in a super run-heavy offense if he has to go in as a back quarterback because your quarterback got injured, you would need to really change to a run-heavy type of scheme because he's not going to do good throwing the ball 30 times a game.
And like I mentioned earlier, I just want to emphasize this again. All of these guys that we're talking about right now, I see as backups at best.
I don't even see this guy as a backup.
I think Jack Coan is already at a higher level than Kaleb Eleby and Bailey Zappe. That's why I think he would be able to be a backup.
I disagree.
Versus the other two, they need progression in their game.
Definitely disagree on Bailey Zappe, and I probably disagree on Eleby.
And why do you have Eleby over Zappe?
Ceiling.
I don't see much of a ceiling on either.
You'll hear why.
All right, well, let's talk about him right now.
Bailey Zappe is the quarterback he is and will not get any better. That's why I have him where he is. I think he is bound to be a great backup quarterback. Like he's gonna do the old Chase Daniel route. Go on, be a backup quarterback around everywhere, win every single backup quarterback job, get paid in the offseason, do it because he'll go in and throw, go 5 for 8 on passes in over a 4-game stretch, and it's like that's enough. We need to see that this guy's got, if he needs to go in and start, we can trust him so that every team keeps paying him in the offseason. That's all Bailey Zappe's going to be. Whoever drafts him, they're going to keep him through his rookie contract, and then he'll hit free agency. He'll sign as a backup for 2 years, then keep doing that until he's 35. That's exactly what's going to happen. The guy doesn't do anything special at all. He benefited heavily from being in a very heavy passing offense. Like that's the reason he put up the numbers that he did. Mm-hmm. He threw the ball a ridiculous amount of times. He had like 600 something pass attempts in college football. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but lacks athleticism, lacks arm strength. Is not an effortless thrower. Average at best pocket awareness. But that's all in terms of NFL talent. I think as NCAA talent, that he's higher end of those things. He's good enough as a NFL ready type backup where like if you needed to go in and throw the ball 15 times in a game, I think he would do fine. Mm-hmm. But you just can't trust him to do anything more than that, which is a perfect type of backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think there was often times where the pocket was collapsing around him and he wouldn't notice until he was already on the ground.
Yeah.
So definitely see that. And then when you said he doesn't throw effortlessly, this is a guy where I thought about you immediately. Because at the end of Drew Brees' career, you're like, dude, he's putting everything into it, and it's going 30 yards. I'm like, yeah, that's Bailey Zappe.
Yeah, that is Bailey Zappe, which is part of the reason why I don't think he can be a starter. Because if he has to throw the ball 500 times a year, even, and it's going to be more than that 17-game season, throw that for 10 years, he's not going to be able to. His arm will not keep up. Or if he has to throw the ball 60 to 70 times per year, he can do that for 15 years.
Yeah, I think he could be decent at it. Huge number, 69.2% completion. Nearly 6,000 yards, 62 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. It's crazy. Isn't that? It's more than Burrow's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At least passing?
Maybe.
I don't think his total touchdowns beat Burrow's, but I think his passing touchdowns did.
Okay. Very well could be. He had 65 total touchdowns, but all right, let's move to my last guy, yeah? This was a guy that actually 2 years ago, I think both of us were pretty high on. Mm-hmm. After his freshman season, I should say. So I
even had faith in him this year. Mm-hmm. I remember I talked about it. Iowa State. Be on the lookout, baby. Yeah,
that being Brock Purdy, the senior. The one thing that pops out immediately is his accuracy. He had a 72% completion rate, which is phenomenal. The best that we've talked about so far in this class. And he just looks the part. There was often times where the ball was on target and his wide receivers were dropping it. I'm like, come on, just help him out a little bit. I think he's very twitchy. I think he's got very solid speed for where he's at. Solid arm, good accuracy. Vision isn't great, and often he likes to throw it into tight or closed windows. But overall, I think that just going from Eleby and Bailey Zappe to Brock Purdy's film, I was like, oh, wow, Brock Purdy's really popping for me.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever call Brock Purdy popping. But
have you seen him in shades, dude? He's popping.
Oh my God. He does not do good under pressure at all. Like really, with the quarterbacks or the quarterback pockets collapsing, and he just rushes his throws and he makes terrible throws, makes terrible decisions. Accuracy wise, if you're passing past 15 to 20 yards, it's like it just gets significantly worse and worse per yard. He's really only going to benefit from playing in an offense where he gets to get the ball out of his hands in a second and a half or less, or it's snap the ball, drop back. The second your receiver hits, the turn on the slant, you throw the ball. That's the only way he's going to find success as a passer. And to do that for, 25, 30 times a game, it's not going to be enough for any team to ever win football games, so he'll never get a starting job.
Yep. That's why I've got him as a backup as well. Dustin Crum, one guy that you and I both did research on, he was the only guy that I actually had as a practice squad projection. Didn't even think he was a backup.
Yeah, maybe a team wants to take a 7th round flyer on him and decides, oh, wow, he did enough to be our 3rd quarterback and we're going to keep 3 on our roster this year. Maybe that happens, but I doubt it. The only other quarterback I have on here that I'll mention really quickly is Aqeel Glass. I think that Aqeel Glass probably gets drafted and probably does end up as a 3rd-string type quarterback for a team that's willing to keep 3. Someone that, you're really hoping that he can translate from the FCS level, the HBCU level, to the NFL. It's hard to do as a quarterback, but it's not impossible. We saw Jimmy G obviously have success, but Aqeel Glass is a good enough thrower and a actually pretty good decision maker as a quarterback as well, where maybe things can work out, but I'm not really counting on it.
I got to say the nice thing about this class being so shallow and really lacking talent is I don't think we're going to be missing on anyone really. Like the bad players that might not work out, we projected as backups. Like there was only a couple that we projected as starters, and some of them were like low-end starters or projects. So, it's going to look good on us, but I got to say, I'm excited for the future episodes because although this quarterback class isn't very good, the rest of the class has a lot of depth, a lot of players that are going to be able to actually start for a team right off the bat. I'm really excited for the offensive line previews because the Bengals need it, and there's a lot of talent in that area. Pass rush is very talented as well, so we got a lot of really exciting episodes coming up.
Defense is where I'm the most excited. Running backs, wide receivers, I'm looking forward to, but I'm really looking forward to the defensive side of this draft class. I've already started some running back work. I've only 2 guys down. One of them I do have as a 1st-round prospect. It's the only one I know for sure is going to end up in that range. I just know how this is going to work out, and none of them are going to end up there. Whereas, last couple of years, there'd be at least a couple guys. So, in terms of what we're going to see next week, it's going to be a little bit more of the same of, some guys that, we could see having some success, but and at least in my opinion, we can see having success, but not necessarily anyone that's, maybe 1 or 2 guys has a chance to be a truly game-changing running back. The rest are just kind of dudes.
I am excited to do my research and watch some film, too, with these other positions, just because a lot of them don't have as much to look for as quarterback does.
Yeah.
Like there is just so much. You got to make sure that the quarterbacks are getting through their progressions. They're not just a one-read quarterback. You got to make sure they're able to diagnose the defensive coverage, whether it be, cover 2 or anything else. So very excited to just see how talented the player is.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to be doing top 8 again for running backs, I'm assuming.
Sure.
That's what we did last year.
Okay.
I've got 25 currently that I plan on watching.
Nice.
So I'm going to have to cut out 17 guys. So
that'll be fun.
Hopefully 17 of them make it easy for me to cut them out.
I know that Kenneth Walker won't be cut out.
Are you sure about that?
Elite.
I currently got a 12th round grade on them if they went that far.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the show. We want to thank you so much for coming out and giving us a listen. Stay tuned for next week's running back show. And if you are on YouTube, if you could please give us a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put down there in the comments what you think about the list. Are one of us stupid? Are both of us stupid? What do you think? Maybe Dustin Crumb's your number one quarterback. Let us know down there.
That would be bold.
It would be. Also, down in the description, you can find our links to our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Join us there. We'll let you know what is going on with the channel. Maybe Chase and I both got deathly ill and can't come to you. We'll let you know right there. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though. Knock on wood.
Yeah, that would not be great. Why would you even say it?
I don't know. If you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could please give us a follow and a 5-star rating, we would really appreciate that. I want to thank you so much for coming out and giving us a listen. And as always, we're not professionals.